Главное, чтобы мы не испугали хозяина мира. Отличный темп. Мне прям нравится, что мы медленнее так напеваем.
Было так, молодой рыбак, слывший острословом, веселил выпивших зевак в кабаке портовом. Думал выиграть в споре. Выпей море, время шло, мигая стекло, потекло вены, спину жгло белое крыло, и дрожали стены. Все изменится, сам выпей море. Рыбаки разбились на Майданы, где шли каравеллы, придут в караван. Барханы читают столом дурака, нелепые мачты торчат из песка. Рыбакам горе. Выпил море, может быть, поспорим. Он ищет на карте новое море.
Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to Electrosteam radio show. We are actually in St. Petersburg, Russia, and today we are taking an interview with this new band named Dunkan. And you have 4 people sitting in the front of the camera. If you're watching live stream, or if you're watching us on Facebook, you may see 4 musicians sitting in the front of me. They gladly invited me to this rehearsal. To be honest, I invited myself, and I took an opportunity to take a moment and ask them a few questions. Please welcome Dunkan. Yeah, guys, you're welcome. You're welcome to say what you like. It's all open mic, pretty much. And let me just ask you a basic question. Can you please introduce yourself, first name and the role in the band? Starting from left to right. Starting from right to left if you're watching us on live stream.
Это группа Dunkan. Here's Dunkan Group. Let me introduce to you all of our musicians. Let's start from left to right or right to left. Bass guitar, Oleg Trubin. Ernest Charmet, who is a person that plays all musical instruments, almost all of them, mainly guitar, keys, and any computer-generated sounds. Well, and our legendary drummer, Alexander Igorovich Voronov. He's also called Deucer, the most amazing drummer in the world. My name is Yura Dorofeyev. I sing in this group, also I play guitar.
How long have you been playing together?
Together we've been playing for about 3 years. We've met by chance and we did not want to part away. I really hope that we will not be parted for a very long time. So we will record a dozen of the most wonderful albums, we'll get a Grammy, and we'll quietly retire. Here is my plan.
How did you meet each other?
As my primary profession, I am a surgeon. Therefore, I often accidentally meet many different people, and somehow, we accidentally met Alexander Igorovich. For the first time, we've met in the hospital by some chance. You were accompanying somebody. No, not your father, buddy, not even Locha. It was a long time ago since we've met each other and became friends. We began to meet in bars, sometimes in restaurants, sometimes I went to concerts. We were friends, and then at some point my friends said, at my 39th birthday, let us make you a song. We will make up some music if you come up with some chords and some words, so we could play it for you. We wrote this song, then the second, then the third, and the album, and now we are writing our second album.
And who were the primary members of your band?
That's a very difficult question. What is the backbone of our group? If there was one of us missing, then nothing would have happened. I'm sure of that. Of course, all of us work, have families, and live life. If one of us, for some reason, is not present at rehearsal, then this is immediately very noticeable and is very unfortunate. Today is a unique, wonderful day. All of us together, it was an awesome rehearsal, and everything worked out very well.
How did you decide to play this kind of style of music? Did it come out naturally? Did you have some experience prior to this and you wanted to continue?
Just recently, the day before yesterday, I answered a similar question on one of the radio stations in St. Petersburg. I'm still sure that we do not choose any styles. I'm sure that we do not choose any directions. I am sure that direction chooses us. I think that music is much more than any of us present here. It is much more and much stronger than we are. Therefore, if this music is in our lives, it is not because we wanted it so much. It is because this music allowed us to be with it. So we take it very philosophically. What you just heard, and maybe other songs that have not yet heard, they are completely different genres. I don't think that we have some basic style. We play what we like. Probably every musician writes and plays what they want. To make music that they would like to hear for themselves, we probably play what we want to hear. I fully support the statements of our poet and vocalist Yuri Dorofeyev. But in general, for the most part, you do not need to be ashamed of it. This is popular music. This is pop music, not academic music, which we also love to listen to with the good sense of popular music. In our music, there is a mixture of all styles and a kind of mesh-up and crossover of styles. In general, all we have is our illusions and our ideas and thoughts. After we hear and say something, we sublimate and create. Therefore, what turns out is what it is. This can be seen in the new album written by Dunkan group, Vachta or Watch, which will soon be released. I think that you, Edward, will put the music on the radio station, just so to speak, rapidly flown to you MP3 files. You will figure it out yourself. I think journalists who will listen will understand what this music is and the style. Therefore, we cannot say anything more about this.
Где все предрешено и знаком финал, где темно экрана полотно и молчащий зал. Молодой актер начал разговор. К чему вся эта боль? Может быть, великий режиссер даст другую роль, где он влюбленный, нищий, пьяный, зритель дешевый. Не будет один. Молодой актер ответ на свой вопрос читает по глазам. Роли для себя отныне и навек он выбирает сам. один.
I want to focus on writing lyrics and writing poetry. It's more of a question for Yuri, who is a lead vocal in the band. So, how does it come up to you?
This is
the most unknown question for me. I do not know how to answer it. If some poet describes how he writes poetry, I think he either lies or he is not a poet. Because there is no recipes or any mechanics. Once this happened, I don't know how you will translate it into English, but when I was still young, one of my school buddies said he started writing poetry. But then, in our youth, we all started writing poems, and some still do not stop. He brought me such a notebook in which was written, just as much sand at the bottom of the sea, just as much happiness in your lifetime you should receive. And I realized that I did not want to read such poetry and did not want to hear it and see it. Then I gave him his notebook, told him that he was a genius, and asked him not to bother me any further. Just so you understand, there are days and nights or when you wake up in the morning and you think with poems. Then you wake up and think with verses. It happens, unfortunately, not often, but sometimes it happens, and when such days happen, they are for me the most important. Anything that comes at that moment, I will try to write a song and sing. However, what comes from my mind is simply not interesting to me. So we may not be doing so many of these songs, but they are all sincere and very honest. This is what we are responsible for, and this is what I am responsible for.
My next question would be for all of the musicians. Have you ever had any other musical experience playing in other bands?
Well, yes, besides Dunkan, I played with Norda and Tequillajazz. I don't even remember where I played. I like to just play with good people. I played with a group named Nol or Zero, with a group of Objekt Nasmieszek or Object of Ridicule, Poopsie, Summer Garden, Honey Sacrifice, and Norda. Then there was Dolphins, then there was Tequillajazz, and we played then and played now again. I really like great musicians, great artists. When I met Oleg Trubin, I just fell in love with the way how he thinks and how he plays the bass guitar. He plays with passion. We organized a band together. We didn't even know the name. Then Ernest appeared. He moved to Leningrad from Donetsk and now lives here. He graduated from the conservatory there. The conversation with Ernest went like this. Do you know the group Yes and he tells us, of course, and we said, then you can be with us. This is how Norda appeared, which due to creative differences broke up again. Although we are not reconciled, at the time we almost finished recording the third album. This is such a cool situation. It's almost like a movie. People are still deeply into Norda. As Yura already mentioned, he hung out with us once and since then we've been friends. By the word of friendship, I think everyone understands what it is. We were friends first with light drinks and then friendship intensified. On Yura's birthday, we wanted to give him a gift. What can you give to such a good person? So we told him we will write you a song. it came to us at some point. We had a spot in the basement of a huge sports and entertainment complex called Anniversary, and there we wrote a song. It turned out to be a hit, but it did not enter the new album just as a single. It's Eric's turn to talk about his life. Well, I'm working as a sound engineer, so I am participating creatively in various collectives in the city of St. Petersburg, as well as different cities of Russia. From Ufa, there are different groups that contacted me. With some of them I am working very closely. In our collaboration, our creativity has sparked, which grew into something more than just business relationships. This is the way it is between musicians and sound engineers. Among these musicians, I would like to highlight the band Karelia. This is an ethnic band which has very big potential. I can basically say that I am a member with my creative collaboration. In fact, Dunkan, where I play guitar and keyboards, and I am almost a producer and almost similar functions performed in the group of Trachea Norda. In the group of Trachea Norda, I wrote the lyrics and sang it too. I as well performed duties as a sound engineer and some administrative work, similar to what I'm doing in Dunkan. But now that project has been paused. At this point, we recorded enough material for a third album, but lyrics was still not complete. Even though this has been delayed, the timing was perfect for Dunkan and we released the first album. It is, in principle, very timely because it is an opportunity to look at each other just at a different angle and set new emphasis. This was very interesting and not accidental. I don't see any competition here. Because we were asked to explain the music with the band Trachea Norda, there were 3 of us. In Dunkan, there are 4 people. I don't see any competition here. Actually, just today we read somewhere in the comments, since there are more musicians in Dunkan, the music is very different. But I see that it's all one creative collaboration, and it's all the same. Good musicians should be involved in multiple projects. Oleg. Oh yes, I also participate more in some collectives, with all of them different in regards to music and to its role. One of them is called Hummy, or Insolent. It's like a sort of art punk. There is another such project. One more collective was born as Kamikaze recently. While the main project is still Trachea Norda, and at the moment it looks like it transformed into Dunkan. Something like this, we are in action.
Тем, что она одна. Листай в пустоте календарик потерь. Заходит стану судачить, давясь кутьей о перипетиях пути. Ты уже заплатил, получив эту роль, тем, что первым придется уйти. Берега, где маяки и звезд ночных разговор. И понял теперь, зачем Магеллан вышел на твой простор.
And let's move on to the next question. Right now, your band is basically 4 of you. Do you have any producer? Do you have anyone producing your songs right now?
У нас продюсера нет.
Or as some bands would call like a band director who organizes concerts and so on.
In reality, we don't have any producer. Unless someone appears who wants to invest a few $1 million, of course we won't say no. Yet, but I think that isn't gonna happen in the next day or two. It would be nearly impossible to find him. Something tells me we are generally very pleased to do everything ourselves. Because if you want to do it right, do it yourself. There is a Russian proverb, God allow me to make all but not all to be made by me. I believe what I can do, that I will make myself. What you can't do, it is better to pass to someone else. In this case, despite the fact that we all have outgrown it, the group is still young. In any case, we are somehow still in the beginning. Although for Sasha, probably it's the beginning once again. And for me, at first. Because I have never been in any other musical groups. I don't want to, and I don't plan to. It all somehow fell into place. So far, all of it has been done by us. My wife is the artist for the album cover, and all around everything else happens by itself. And we haven't asked anyone for anything. What will be with our second album? I don't know, but I can tell you it will be great.
I'm aware that you are about to do a release concert which is taking place on September 20th. Unfortunately, I will be flying back on the 19th back to New York. I won't be there, but I'll gladly be listening and watching whatever videos will be out there. How do you feel about this upcoming concert?
Of course, for me, the moment is exciting, and of course, this is all a first for me. My friends, of course, they are much more experienced than me in terms of performances on stage. But I can't tell you that I don't worry at all if this is some out of the ordinary experience, because my main work is linked to high levels of stress. The stress I am used to. I'm absolutely not afraid of the audience. Totally not afraid to speak out loud and totally not afraid to say what I think. I think that all was said just right. Aside from this, it is really important how the first concert goes. The venue is big. I hope the sound will be good. A lot of our friends are coming and would not like to hit the dirt face down. I hope it will be a big hit. Yes, a big hit for the good and from the soul and to the heart of the people who come to our concert. We hope that those who will come to our concert will leave a little bit different. This is our purpose, and that is all we want. With changed cultural genes in a better way.
Since you mentioned that you're, besides doing music, you also have other type of work that you involved with. Can you guys, each one of you, describe the other work that you are involved with?
Oh yes, we work, each in different spheres. Someone deals with music, others with medicine. I am in the service industry, repairing. It is far away from anything to do with music. During rehearsal, you forget that and in the morning, something else is waiting for you. It's very strange after playing a concert and regardless how successful it was. The next morning you wake up and return back into normal life, thinking about what happened yesterday. Why is today so bland? And yesterday wasn't. How is it possible?
So you're involved with electronic equipment and you can fix electronic equipment. It's quite related to music, so it's not that distant.
You can find inspiration anywhere, including in this. This is why I try to squeeze out as much positivity as possible. This is normal. All depends on how you look at things and how close you are talking into the microphone.
That's great. That's great.
By the way, nobody asked me. Actually, I didn't respond to your earlier question. I didn't get the chance. You've asked us about the music, how it comes up and who is the backbone of the group. It feels that I have such a clear picture in my head. I want to share it, because it seems to me that everything is very obvious. Rhythmical formula. It is Sasha and Oleg. Drums with the bass. That is how the first song begins. When we first start the song, it starts with that. It's always like this. When we play together, these are our founding steps as the backbone, following by other tools, arrangements, or by going to DAW sequencer, computers, or using different synths, modulators. Some electronica make it added. For example, main synthesis may come from guitar, from a variety of modules, which are now available as virtual instruments in the computer. But this takes place after some acoustic coupling has been established between bass and drums. That is the difference between Trachy Norda and Dunkan. The fact that the lyrics and vocals in Trachy Norda were composed after the groove has been made, after rhythmical grid and arrangement is created. Here is everything happening vice versa. Yura, in fact, in 99% of the cases, brought the song finished, already playable on the guitar. On top of it, we create an entire grid and an arrangement, and then we can adjust or correct the vocals where needed. Maybe something rhythmically moved, changed, and then recorded. So if we are talking about the backbone in terms of rhythmically, the two arrangers are right there. I am also participating. I am too pressing buttons. Yura is the backbone of poetry. He is responsible for lyrics.
Yeah, that's definitely a good answer in my in response for my question, who is the main like unit of the band? Yeah, I'm happy that you responded to this question. That's great. Let's come back for a second for my my prior question in regards to what kind of work do you do otherwise besides playing in the band. So about the Alexander Voronov, I think it's your time to say.
My primary work. I am a fan of good people. Hanging out with them is my main activity. At the moment, when I'm not occupied as a fan of my best friends, I'm a fan of what I do otherwise. I am teaching people of different professions who suddenly decide to learn to play the drums. They come to me to learn, some even quite successfully, especially girls that are playing in other groups. I know a girl that is playing in my friend's group, Zhenya Fedorov, of whom I am a big fan. His brother has a group. My student is playing there, for example. When people come by, I love to put some music to listen or to jam. Various and diverse, mostly of course music of the North Vector. Finnish, Norwegian, Danish. I am also involved in international projects, such as the group Interzona. I recorded 2 albums with this group. It is Live Bullet and Extremum. Really enjoyed friendship with these people, and still we're friends virtually and in reality. By the way, hello to the entire conglomeration in New York, to Bolshoi, Mike Danilin, and his wife Sveta, David Gross, and Tavarish Igor Shorman. You are my favorite. By the way, he watched everything and decided to become a drummer. And not a bad one. He came and showed me how he mastered the rudimental technique. A man can do anything. Igor Shorman is an example. I also like that Yura graduated medical institute and I worked as a doctor for a while. But then the country suffered a light collapse and I became a musician. The collapse took place. I'm happy with my new profession, as well as Alexander Rosenbaum, Soviet and Russian musician, who was also a doctor. Therefore, my profession is not gone. There is still plenty of people who are weak and they need a lot of assistance to be provided, as well as to cure musicians, with whom I play with. Let Yura continue.
Про работу. Слушайте, ну
my job certainly does not have any direct relation to what we're doing here, music, but I'm a doctor traumatologist, orthopedist, doctor of highest category, PhD in medical science. For a long time, I was in charge of many clinics. I was the chief trauma surgeon for an entire clinic at a newly acquired Russian Republic for 2 years. Recently, I returned from this republic back to St. Petersburg, and I am very happy, because there is, of course, the work. It was very interesting, but extremely difficult. Right now, I have more time to make music. Like Sasha said, the country suffered a collapse, and he moved from being a doctor to being a musician. It seems that I went through internal collapse and somehow wondrously became a musician. I like this collapse, and I don't want it to stop.
Good answers, very good answers. So, my next question, I think I'm going to wrap up with 2 more questions, and I'll let you guys do whatever you were planning for the night. Actually, it's pretty late at night, and it is midnight, so it's about that magical moment. To about the time is 11:59 p.m. so which is pretty normal for these musicians. My question will be about the future. That every next album, it's another milestone. What will be the next?
Probably each one of us have his own view on this album we mentioned, and I think we must hear everyone out. I'd see it this way. The music which we have now recorded for our first album has not yet been heard by many people, except for those who are close friends. Some said that this reminds them of someone, that we remind of some legendary bands, or maybe even Russian rock of old times. Some say it feels like the old classics of foreign rock music, like art rock. But I have made the following conclusion. We, as polite and intelligent people, doctors, but not only doctors, also linguists and many other professions, we are just coming into this field. I'm talking now about myself and about our group. We are just on this field, and so, in our first album, we pay tribute to our teachers and those people who were here before us. You know, at one scientific conference, I heard this phrase. When one surgeon asked, "Why are you so wise and so brilliant?" he said, "You know, I stand on the shoulders of titans, therefore I can see very far." So, as our first album is just our tribute and to bow to the titans that were here before us. The music and lyrics which has been composed now takes me away. It takes me much further. I think all of us. Fundamentally different music, and I don't even know how to characterize it. But when I talk about this, forgive me, I feel goosebumps, because it's very meaningful to us.
Я передам альбом Александру, потому что он наверняка более музыкально об этом расскажет.
Альбом принял? Да.
On my behalf, I have nothing to add, because you said everything so correctly. It may happen that there will not be the second album, because we're just going to write songs. Possibly we will not resort to the form of an album. It can just be a compilation of what we like, what we think. While, on the other hand, maybe this will be an album. There will be something for sure. Because the album form certainly is important. But on the other hand, this is the modern times. It's unknown if a larger format is needed or a smaller format. In general, I don't know, although I am for the album. I thought of what Sasha just said now. Previously, vinyl records were released, and I remember the sheer size of the covers. It was for artists who painted the artwork for the album. It is almost the size of a painting. The artwork was drawn in detail. Nowadays, that doesn't exist anymore. Because of the size and shape of the records, it appeared like that. Now, the size is decreasing and continues in that progression. In this case, releasing an album does not make sense. Instead, now, we have single after single after single. You constantly remind about yourself to others. Sort of presenting yourself in the form of news feeds on social media networks. Don't narrow down the operating memory of your brain. You need to create bigger forms, bigger things, to have bigger thoughts. That is my comment. In regards to what will be the album, it appears that the music has always been created on the cutting edge of human senses. We all have strings in our souls. We all feel the pulse of time, the pulse of each other, the pulse of what happens to us. The events of our lives change our consciousness. Every time we come to a point in a studio, we then compose something new. We may or may not feel that pulse, but we use it in our music, and therefore it is very difficult to say what kind of album it will be. What I see for myself is that when I collaborate with some people, it turns out to be one kind of music, and with other people it becomes a different kind of music. As usual, everything is simple with me. I am so moved to play with the guys, to compose and come up with something. What is important to me is simply to look what will be next. Each finished and recorded song throws me into a light shock. I have one thought in my head, how it all happened and how it went from song to song. When you listen to an album, you don't understand how I got into this entire array. I am all forward to continue and to see what it will be.
Великая честь. Пока мы поем